village of Shadowmere had always been a place of mystery, its cobblestone streets winding through a landscape of ancient, gnarled trees and mist-shrouded hills. By day, it was a quaint urban settlement, with charming cottages and bustling markets. But as night fell, an eerie silence descended, broken only by the occasional howl that echoed through the darkness. The villagers, once carefree and welcoming, now hurried indoors before sunset, their faces etched with fear and desperation. It had been a year since the curse befell Shadowmere. A year since Thomas Blackwood, a respected merchant, returned from his African expedition with a terrible secret. His skin was ashen, his eyes wild with terror as he stumbled into the village square, clutching a bleeding wound on his arm. A wolf, he had gasped, a wolf like no other. Little did they know that this bite would unleash a horror beyond their wildest nightmares. Within weeks, the first transformation occurred. Thomas, a man of medium build with graying hair and kind blue eyes, became a monstrous creature standing 10 feet tall. His body, once clothed in fine silks, was now covered in coarse, matted fur. Razor-sharp claws extended from massive paws, and his gentle eyes turned to glowing amber orbs filled with insatiable hunger. The werewolf's howl shattered the peace of Shadowmere, marking the beginning of a reign of terror. As the curse spread, more villagers fell victim to the werewolf's bites. The once thriving community became a battleground, with every night bringing new horrors. Families were torn apart, friends turned into foes, and the streets ran red with blood. The village elders, their faces lined with worry and their hair turned white from stress, gathered in secret, desperately seeking a solution to their plight. Amidst the chaos and despair, one man stood apart. Abe Lee, a solitary figure known for his brilliant mind and reclusive nature, watched the unfolding tragedy with a mix of horror and determination. Standing at 177 centimeters tall and weighing 160 kilograms, Abe cut an imposing figure. His almost bald head, peppered with salt and pepper stubble, gleamed in the dim light of his workshop. Dressed in plain, decent clothing that had seen better days, Abe's piercing brown eyes reflected a fierce intelligence. As the village descended into panic, Abe retreated to his workshop on the outskirts of town. Day and night, the sound of his tinkering echoed through the abandoned streets. Villagers whispered about the strange lights and acrid smells emanating from his property, but none dared to investigate. Some called him mad, others a coward, but Abe paid them no heed. He knew that time was running out, and only he could save them all. One stormy night, as the werewolf's howls pierced the air, Abe emerged from his sanctuary. His clothes were stained with grease and chemicals, his eyes bloodshot from lack of sleep. In his hands, he carried a peculiar device, a contraption of gears and vials that pulsed with an otherworldly energy. "I have found a way," he announced to the terrified villagers huddled in the town hall. But the price is steep. Abe's plan was as brilliant as it was horrifying. He had developed a serum that would allow him to control his transformation, to become a werewolf while retaining his human mind. With this power, he could infiltrate the pack and destroy them from within. But the process was irreversible. Abe would be forever changed, forever cursed. The village elders, their faces a mix of hope and sorrow, listened intently as Abe explained the intricacies of his plan. "It's madness," cried Martha Holloway, a stout woman with graying hair and kind eyes, her apron still stained with blood from tending to the wounded. "We can't ask you to sacrifice yourself, Abe. There must be another way." Her voice cracked with emotion, echoing the sentiments of many in the room. Abe's eyes softened as he looked at the faces of his neighbors, people he had known all his life but kept at arm's length. "There is no other way," Abe replied, his voice steady and resolute. "I've run every calculation, explored every possibility. This is our only chance of survival." He paused, his gaze sweeping across the room. "I've lived a solitary life, kept myself apart from you all. Let this be my way of making amends, of finally belonging to this community." The silence that followed was heavy with the weight of his words. As dawn broke, Abe made his final preparations. He stood in the village square, surrounded by the remnants of the community he had long avoided. Children clung to their parents' legs, their eyes wide with a mixture of fear and awe. The adults stood in solemn silence, some weeping openly, others offering quiet words of gratitude and encouragement. Abe's stoic demeanor cracked for a moment as he looked at the faces around him, realizing for the first time what he had been missing all these years. With trembling hands, Abe raised the vial containing the serum to his lips. "For Shadowmere," he whispered, and drank deeply. The effect was immediate and horrifying. Abe's body contorted, bones cracking and reforming as fur sprouted across his skin. The villagers watched in terrified fascination as the man they knew transformed into a creature of nightmare. But when the transformation was complete, the werewolf that stood before them was different from the others. Its eyes, though amber, held a spark of human intelligence. As night fell, Abe set out into the forest, his new form moving with preternatural grace. The villagers barricaded themselves in their homes, praying for his success and their survival. Hours passed, marked only by distant howls and the occasional earth-shaking roar. Parents held their children close, whispering stories of hope and bravery to drown out the sounds of battle raging beyond their walls. In the depths of the forest, Abe confronted the werewolf pack. His human mind, trapped within the monstrous body, recoiled at the sight of his former neighbors turned into savage beasts. Thomas Blackwood, now the alpha of the pack, towered over the others, his massive form scarred from countless battles. Abe's heart ached as he recognized friends and family members among the snarling creatures, their humanity lost to the curse. The battle was fierce and bloody. Abe's enhanced strength and retained intelligence gave him an edge, but he was vastly outnumbered. Claws tore into flesh, jaws snapped at throats, and the forest echoed with howls of rage and pain. Abe fought with the desperation of one who knows the fate of many rests on his shoulders. One by one, he brought down the werewolves, each victory tinged with sorrow for the life lost. As dawn approached, only Abe and Thomas remained. The two circled each other, both bleeding and exhausted. "Thomas," Abe growled, his voice a guttural approximation of human speech. "If there's any part of you left in there, help me end this." For a moment, a flicker of recognition passed through Thomas's feral eyes. But it was quickly replaced by bestial fury as he launched himself at Abe in a final, desperate attack. The struggle was brutal and swift. When it ended, Abe stood over Thomas's lifeless body, his own form battered and barely able to stand. As the first rays of sunlight pierced the canopy, Abe felt the change come over him once more. But this time, there was no return to human form. The sacrifice was complete. Abe had saved the village, but at the cost of his humanity. Word of Abe's victory spread quickly through Shadowmere. The villagers emerged from their homes, blinking in the sunlight that no longer held terror for them. They made their way to the forest's edge, hearts pounding with a mixture of hope and dread. There, they found evidence of the night's battle, broken trees, blood-soaked earth, and the bodies of those who had succumbed to the curse. But of Abe, there was no sign. Some claimed to have seen a lone wolf, larger than any natural animal, slinking away into the depths of the forest. Others swore they heard a howl that sounded almost like a cry of anguish. The village elders, their faces etched with lines of grief and gratitude, declared Abe Lee a hero and ordered a monument to be built in his honor. In the years that followed, Shadowmere slowly rebuilt. The scars of that terrible year never fully healed, but the community grew stronger for having faced their fears together. Parents told their children the story of Abe Lee, the solitary genius who sacrificed everything to save them all. On quiet nights, some swore they could hear a distant howl, a reminder of the price paid for their safety. And deep in the forest, far from human eyes, a creature that was once Abe Lee roamed. Neither fully wolf nor man, he carried the burden of his choice with quiet dignity. Though he could never return to his human life, Abe found a measure of peace in knowing that his sacrifice had not been in vain. In saving Shadowmere, he had finally found the connection he had always sought, even if he could never truly be a part of it again.